They're here. I'm going to show you the video. Well, just let's scroll on. Just keep scrolling. I just want to show them where the link is. Keep scrolling. Go on. Let's keep scrolling. I'll show you where that point is. Great. Stop here. Let's see. You can see the number 0026. Now, this particular segment explains an interesting scenario of part of its functionality. Then it goes on to give you a link, and that link is HTTP. You can see it there. All right. Now, that particular link says one example of how the fMRI can measure brain activity associated with visual information and generate image data. I want you to understand what it just said. What it just said. So, it can measure brain activity. Not only can it measure it, it can generate image data, which means it can tell what's going on in your brain. Right? And you know, with your mind, you imagine. No one can find your mind because it's spiritual in a sense. Now your mind can imagine, pick whatever, transfer it to your brain, for your brain to communicate with your body and react. Right? Now, which means if we can capture what is in your brain, we're capturing what is in your mind. This is the ultimate control. If we can capture what is in your mind, and you look at the diagrams are arrows both ways, which means I can receive and transfer data. So I'm not the only one who you can pick information from. You can also send information to me. In other words, you can help me think what you want me to think. You can put in my brain how you want me to see it. Because this is interesting. This is coming up like a cure for some people that have brain problem. So it's coming like, now we have a solution. We can help them reason right. Those people who see things and can't really make out what they're seeing, now we can help them see it better. That means I can fix your imagination. If you were seeing two people and you were supposed to see three, I can help you see the third one. This is extraordinary. I told you this was going to, I told you from the book of Revelation. I told you that was going to happen, but it's not going to happen. It's available. It's available. So let's watch this breakthrough technology. Watch. From cryptocurrency. All right, watch. Come on.
Psychology and neuroscience here at UC Berkeley, and my lab works on vision. That's our main focus is on the visual system. And vision's a really important thing to work on because humans are very visual animals. And when humans have damage to their visual system, they're really incapacitated. And natural vision is a lot like watching a movie. So essentially, we were trying to build a model that describes how your brain responds to movies. So if the external world is a certain kind of movie, we want to be able to build a dictionary that will allow us to accurately predict what the brain activity would be that would be evoked by that movie. And then given some brain activity, we want to be able to reconstruct the movie that you saw. So on the left here we have a movie that we showed a subject in the magnet, and on the right we have a brain, and you can see the brain activity is painted here on the side of the brain, but the brain's kind of crunched up in the skull, so it's hard to visualize. So we kind of inflate it and then we flatten it out, and we can see a flat map of the visual cortex and the rest of the brain as the person watches the movie. The problem here for us is to translate between these movies that occur and this pattern of brain activity that occurs. And in the study we talked about in our paper, we just modeled this very back part of the brain, the early visual system, primary visual cortex. And that part of the brain responds to the little local features in the movie, little edges and colors and pieces of motion and texture. But this part of the brain doesn't know anything about what the objects are in the movie. First, we put people in the magnet for several hours and we show them movies and we build a model of their brain. And then in the second part, we put them back in the magnet, we show them new movies, and we measure their brain activity, and we decode their brain activity in order to reconstruct the movie. So on the left here is the movie we actually showed people, and on the right is our reconstruction. When the movie that we showed has a fairly common object like a person, our reconstructions are actually fairly accurate. But when the movie that we showed is something rarer, as you'll see in a second, like this abstract thing, then our reconstructions are coarser. Not really so much over here, I guess. I think you'll be able to use this kind of technology for communicating with people who can't communicate, like locked-in patients or people with neurological diseases. I think you could maybe use this in some forms of psychotherapy or dream analysis. I think there's a lot of potential clinical applications for this. When this model worked, we were very happy because it was really quite surprising that it would work at all. We're only taking snapshots of the brain every 1 or 2 seconds, and our reconstructions of movies happen at the movie rate. So that's much faster, and there's no reason one would think that this would work, and in fact most of our colleagues just told us this would never work. So it was pretty surprising and satisfying when it actually worked.
Interesting. This is extraordinary. So you can watch a movie and it can reconstruct the movie that you watched. So it's not just movie, even your dream. If you had a dream, they can reconstruct the dream that you had. This is interesting. And imagine that this is as what we might call in its early stages, because it's like a breakthrough for these guys. And then it finds its way into this that is supposed to be about a cryptocurrency. It's supposed to be about money. But in registering it, they included there what their equipment should have capacity to do, so that it's part of the registration. You see it? So, when you get this cryptocurrency, as it were, you're allowing the same organization the ability to get into your brain and get information in your brain. And based on this document, you're also allowing them the ability to transmit information to your brain. I told you before, you've seen it on video now. I told you that such